Just a brief word from the Monongahela Metal Foundry. Ladies, we don't expect you to take our word that Monongahela steel ingots are brighter and shinier than old-fashioned brands. Make a simple comparison test for yourself. Just drag one of your present ingots out in the yard on a sunny day and place it next to one of ours. If the Monongahela ingot doesn't shine more brightly, even without long hours of polishing, your money will be cheerfully refunded. You have nothing to lose, so order a carload delivered to your rail siding today.
And now, the United States Post Office, producers and distributors of stamps, invite you to ride with the men of Squad Car 119.
My name's Sam Finch. Me and my partner, Ralph R. Kruger, Jr., we're the unsung heroes of the police force. We ride a prowl car at night through the good residential sections and through the slums, always trying to protect the law-abiding from the law-breaking. One evening last week, we were cruising through our territory when my partner, Ralph R. Kruger, Jr., turned to me and said,
I see that grocery store is having a special on liverwurst, Sam.
That right?
Yeah, liverwurst sandwich with cheese makes the best kind of bedtime snack you can eat.
Yeah, that store's not having a special on cheese, though. They probably get you into the store with an offer of cheap liverwurst and then soak you plenty for the cheese.
Yeah, you're probably right. I worked on a case with Glimmer once where we sent up a grocery store owner for using that very M.O.
Yeah, it's used a lot, successfully too, quite a number of times.
Calling Car 119, Car 119, the fire is raging out of control at 6127 San Pedro. Property owner suspects an arsonist. Check it out.
That's us, Ralph R. Jr. Let's roll. Always like to work on a fire job. All those big engines, the brass all polished up.
The hook and ladders, that's what I like. The guy sits on the back seat and steers. Last arson case I worked on, they let me sit up on the back seat. Of course, the engine was just parked in the firehouse. Boy, that was a thrill.
Yeah, battalion chief let me pet his dog one time. You know those big white ones with the black spots?
Yeah, I got to slide down a fire pole once. Man, that's living.
Sure hope the firemen fighting this one brought their dog along. They're wonderful dogs to pet. Big white ones with black spots.
Gee, this is the address of the dispatch he gave us. The building's ruined, but the fire trucks have all left.
Yeah.
Maybe we could chase them back to the firehouse, and they'd let us sit up on one of those engines.
Yeah, that's an idea. They probably took their dog with them, too. They're wonderful dogs, big and white with black spots. Well, if we're going to the firehouse, I'd like to stop and pick up some dog biscuits on the way. Dog likes you when you feed him.
Well, if you're going to stop for dog biscuits, let's not go to that grocery store that was having a special on liverwurst. They probably soak you plenty for dog biscuits in a place like that.
Yeah, you're right. They would.
Calling Car 119, Car 119. Disregard that call to 6127 San Pedro. The arsonist has been picked up by the men of Squad Car 8. He's been identified, booked, and brought to trial. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And while we're waiting to hear the results of today's exciting case, just a word about your United States Post Office. Friends, the glue on your 10-cent stamps now contains an alkaline solution that brings instant relief from heartburn, acid indigestion, or that achy feeling from a cold. Lick a few stamps tonight and you'll wake up tomorrow feeling like a million.
The suspect in that arson case convinced the jury that he set fire to a pile of gasoline-soaked rags in an empty warehouse by accident. His story that he had broken into the warehouse looking for something to steal won him an acquittal. He's now suing the city for false arrest.
And so justice once again prevails thanks to the unsung heroes of the police force, the men who ride the squad cars at night. And we have a very famous personality, Dr. Enoch Van Flam, with us now. Of course, you all recognize him as the author of one of this season's bestsellers, a current bestseller, actually, How to Avoid Happiness Through Negative Thinking.
If I may cut in for just a moment, the
Sure.
book is not really a bestseller. My royalties will hardly pay for the time I put in writing it.
Well, I'm surprised to hear that. I thought it sold about 300,000 copies.
Well, it has, but of course I've trained myself to think negatively about everything, so no matter how many copies it sells, I'm sure I can still be disappointed about it.
In other words, your philosophy is to look on the dark side of everything.
That's
huh?
right. After all, the world is a pretty horrible place, and people who think positively are just kidding themselves. I figure that even if my book sells 1 million copies, I'll probably get sick and won't have a chance to enjoy the money.
Well, of course, your book tells people how to avoid happiness through negative thinking. I'm wondering just what the purpose is in doing that in the first place.
For one thing, negative thinking makes a person miserable. And that keeps them from laughing and whooping it up and making a fool of himself. Also, he won't squander his money foolishly because he always expects to need it for necessities after he gets
A
fired.
negative thinker lives in constant fear of losing his job, does he?
That's right, and of course, worrying about that makes him inefficient at his job, and 9 times out of 10, he'll be fired. But since that's what he expected all along, he doesn't suffer the usual letdown, you know.
That's too drafty in here for you, Doctor?
Just a little. I think I'm catching a cold anyway. It'll probably go into pneumonia. I'll be in a fine pickle then because I expect my wife to leave me any day, and that means I'll have to take care of myself even though I have a raging fever, you know.
Well, I suppose you could have a nurse come in.
Yes, but I don't think about that because it's not a negative thought.
I see.
Of course, I suppose I could get a nurse who'd steal my silverware and leave me penniless.
Yeah, I suppose you could.
Oh, misery, oh, gloom.
You're really getting yourself into a real blue funk over this, aren't you?
Yes, it just shows you what you can do with a little thing like a sneeze.
Uh-huh. Well, since your negative thinking program makes people so miserable, I can't quite see why you're promoting it.
Well, I feel that the world would be a better place in which to live if we all thought negatively. I mean, we'd be completely free of nice, cheerful little old ladies, people who are poor but happy, gay, laughing children, courageous widows, and all that sort of thing.
Well, I guess there's a lot of truth in that, and I certainly want to thank you, I think, Doctor, for being with us today, and best of luck with your book.
Most of my royalties will go for taxes anyway.
That's true. That's true. Goodbye, sir.
Bye.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. Yesterday, after enjoying the clam bake on the beach at Ogunquit, Mary, Harry, Pop, Calvin, and Greg Marlowe prepared to return to the theater for their evening performance of Westchester Furioso. But before they arrived, Calvin discovered that his wallet was missing. And now, at the local police headquarters, we hear our group.
Well, I'm pretty well lost without my wallet, sir.
Yeah, well, I should think you would be. Now, just where did you happen to lose it, Mr.
What's that?
You-
Well, my name is in my wallet.
Well, you...
Hoogervin is my name. Calvin Hoogervin.
Calvin?
H-O-O-G-E-V-E-N. Hoogervin.
G-E-V-E-V-E-N or V-I-N?
V-E-N.
V-E-N.
Hoogervin. Hoogervin.
All right, Mr. Hoogervin,
Now,
where...
I'll tell you, inside it is my driver's license,
Yeah?
and I have several credit cards in there, and I also have my 1964-1965 New York World's Fair pass.
Uh-huh.
Keep that in there. I meant to take it out.
Kind of a souvenir, I
I
suppose.
keep it as a souvenir. Sometimes I take it out and show people.
All right. Now, I got to have a little bit of information here.
Picture of Miss Jerry Rogers in it.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, she's...
I understand she's going to make a personal appearance here in Ogunquit this summer.
Certainly hope she does. She's awfully good. She's the Dar lady, you
Yes,
know.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. I heard she went to New York to have that cured.
She went to a psychiatrist who was going to try to separate her from her
Right.
dars.
Now, just what line of work are you in, Mr. Hoogervin?
Well, I'm a jack of all trades. Right now, I'm with a theatrical troupe here in Ogunquit. We're playing at the theater here in Westchester Furioso.
Oh, you're one of them show people.
Yes, sir.
I've always heard you careless about your money.
Well, I wasn't careless about it. I have $11 in that wallet.
Uh-huh.
Of course, we're between paydays. And I was on the beach admiring the fireworks display.
Wasn't that a good display? That's one of the best ones we've had.
It was okay up until I discovered my wallet gone.
Oh, did you search the area in which you were sitting?
Well, no, I did look around. I found a lot of bottle caps and those little things that come out of aluminum cans. And I found a 10-cent piece.
Some
That-
shells. Seashells are pretty easy to find down
I
there.
didn't notice any seashells.
Or pretty colored rocks, different kind of rocks you
I
can
didn't
find.
notice any rock. I noticed some sea glass, which appeared to be
Yeah.
old soft drink bottles that have been in the ocean for 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Well, now, I think I've got all the information I need. If we find your wallet, we'll certainly be in touch with you.
It's genuine pigskin. As I recall, it was made by artisans in Great Britain. And I received it at one Christmas time, and it was a very nice wallet, and I'm quite attached to it.
And you say it had your driver's license in it?
Yes.
All of your identification?
Credit cards.
Well,
yes.
we'll put out an all-points bulletin, and we'll send the radio car out and see if they can help track it down. You didn't see any suspicious persons, any possible perpetrators around where you were enjoying the fireworks, did you?
You know, everybody here in Ogunquit looks suspicious to me.
Oh, excuse me just a minute. Hello? Yeah, this is the chief. Is it pigskin? Imported.
Made in Great Britain.
Made in Great Britain? Does it say Great Britain in it? Is there a driver's license inside?
I think you
Well,
found
look.
my wallet.
Look and see if there's a driver's license.
Isn't that fortunate? I was all set to say bye-bye to
There
that
is.
wall.
There is a driver's license inside. What's the name on the license?
Calvin Hoogman. Calvinho.
No, L. Crawford Holmesby.
Oh,
Guess it's not yours. But we'll keep looking for it.
oh.
And so Calvin has no success so far in finding his wallet. But the search continues, and you want to be here on Monday when we'll hear Calvin say,
Can I get that without a prescription?
that's Monday in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking.
How do you do, ma'am?
How do you do?
We've never met before. I'm Bob. That's Ray over there.
You don't look anything like you sound. You don't look like it. I had a picture of you listening to you. You don't look like it.
Did we send you a picture, or you just had
No,
it in
I'm
your
looking
mind's
at
eye?
you now. I had a mental picture of you, and when I was introduced to you, I thought, you don't look anything like you sound.
Probably look younger in person. Now, you have received...
Well, I wouldn't want to say. I don't want to hurt anybody.
You received nothing for taking part in this listener comparison survey.
No, I received nothing.
You listened to both the Bob and Ray Show and another radio program for a period of between 8 and 10 days.
Yes.
And at that time, the end of that time, you decided you liked one better than the other. Which one?
I preferred the Bob and Ray Show.
Well, you show the good taste that a great many of our listener survey takers have shown. Why was that?
Well, because after listening to the Bob and Ray Show, I returned after using a cup of fat. Only a teaspoon was gone after I listened to the Bob
Pour
and Ray
all
Show.
but a teaspoon back into the
Into
cup.
the container,
Thank you very much, ma'am.
entirely.
Welcome now to another episode of Wing Po, the true-to-life story of a Chinese philosopher who wanders across the American frontier in search of work. As our action-packed drama begins today, a cattle drive is preparing to head north from the Texas plains. Suddenly, Wing Po appears and makes his way through the herd to the trail boss.
Good morning, young fella. We're just about set to head out of here, but if you're one of them panhandlers, I guess the cook could still rustle you up a plate of beans before we go.
The gesture you make is most noble, but to accept food without giving of oneself in return is much like eating the grape and failing to replant the seed so that other vines may grow.
Does that mean you don't like beans?
Such a question worthy of contemplation, but until I can dwell upon it further, just permit me to say that I come here seeking honest work.
Well, I reckon I misjudged you then. But most of you fellas wearing sandals and carrying flutes just looking for a free handout, so I just naturally figured you were one of them.
That is understandable, for it is said that in the eyes of the Meadow Rock, all water buffalo look the same.
Well, I ain't sure how anybody could prove that one way or the other, but I reckon I might hire you on as an extra hand. Where's your horse?
I have none, for a humble philosopher traveling across the land in search of wisdom is destined to go on foot. And by the same token, what can a philosopher learn from a horse?
Well, I wouldn't know about that. But if you're willing to ride herd like the others, I guess maybe I could furnish you a horse. The pay's $100 once we reach the railhead.
I gladly accept, for your generosity has won my gratitude.
Well, I reckon you'll have to ride side saddle if you plan on wearing that kimono. But I'll get you a rope so you can round up the stray heifers along the route.
But an animal is not to be trapped with a rope merely because it seeks its freedom. The cattle you take with you are noble creatures that one must befriend rather than punish.
Well, I got 4,000 head of cattle, so you'd better be one who makes friends easy if you plan to get chummy with all of them between here and Wichita.
That is not a difficult thing to do. These animals behave like animals only because they are afraid of men. So I shall speak to them with words of reassurance and play flute music in their ear during lunch breaks.
Crawford, why are you standing here hobnobbing with this character in the nightgown? He said you were going to have the herd on the trail by sunup.
Please, do not speak harshly to him. The blame for conversing at length rests on my shoulders.
Why just hire this fella on as an extra hand, Miss Lolly? He's going to help keep strays from wandering off by speaking to them with words of reassurance.
It is so for all creatures.
What in the world was that you said he's going to do?
I shall explain.
No. Better let me do it, fella. Miss Lottie's a businesswoman, and she don't think much of philosophy unless you make it sound practical. Now, you see, Miss Lolly, the cattle only get skittish because they don't have many friends. So this man's going along to have a few words with each cow. Let them all know we think they're noble.
That is true, for the herd of animals is much like the herd of mankind. We walk the path of life together, but inside, each is our own.
Well, you're not going to walk one more step down the path of life if you try to collect my money for that kind of foolishness. Now, pick up your flute and get out of here before I crack your skull with a branding iron.
I shall go, for violence is a thing to be abhorred. I'll take only a moment to pick up the beans that were kindly offered, and then be on my lonely way. Goodbye. And so our hero moves on to his next thrilling adventure. Be sure to join us soon for more breathtaking excitement in the life of Wing Po. And as promised, it's time for another informative session with Dr. Elmer Stapley, the word wizard. Dr. Stapley is one of the nation's leading authorities on the meaning and derivation of English words, and he's here to answer questions that you listeners send in about our language and its correct use. You ready to start handling today's questions, Doctor?
Well, Mr. Elliott, the way you perforated that interjectory causes it to make nonsense. You see, it just isn't grammatically feeble to handle a question. Handles the small loopholes or other deductions attached to the side of an illiterate object that makes it easier to pick up. But misfortunately, questions are mere figments of speech that don't come with handles as standard equipoise. So even if I pick one up, I'll have to use some other methodology. Have I made myself obliterated?
No, you still seem to be here. So I guess we'll just have to make the best of it and let you start handling today's questions. This is from a woman in North Dakota, who writes, I live on a farm where we raise more than one type of cattle. Since cattle already is a plural word, then several kinds of it must be a plural of a plural. So what is the correct form to use?
For all one variety, the plural is cows. For more than one type, it's a bunch of cows.
Well, doesn't the word cow only refer to the female of the species, Doctor?
Well, was that what the person who wrote the letter asked?
No, not directly. She's asking about the plural form of cattle.
Well, then please don't abscond the issue by hallucinating a whole new question that you just made up for yourself. Are you trying to get me itemized?
No. I'm not trying to get you mixed up either. Well, let's go to another question, all right? This is from a man. We're getting a lot from the Midwest here today, man in Iowa. Says, I bought a bottle of baby aspirin for my little boy's headache, but it says on the label, keep all medicine out of the reach of children. I've tried throwing the aspirin into my boy's mouth from across the room, so he can't reach it, but the pills just keep hitting him in the face and bouncing off. Is there any way I could have misunderstood what it says on the label?
What was that phrase again that he wanted transmigrated?
Keep all medicine out of the reach of children.
Well, I never saw anything like that on a label, but then, of course, you said this man lives in Iowa.
Yet, Cedar Rapids. Well, maybe that explains something. I don't know. Leaves us free for a final question. A woman in Michigan writes, is it correct to say I'm over 75 years old, or should it be I'm more than 75 years old? That point of grammar has always confused me.
Well, it's easy to use the right phrase if you remember the rule. You should always say over if you're speaking of a height, such as a mountain over 5,000 feet tall. And it's also correct in discussing an amount of money, such as an item costing over $10.
All right, then what about the phrase more than?
Well, that's used in talking about a quantity of other things. You'd say more than 100 chickens or more than 20 acres. So I guess that answers the woman's question.
Well, I don't think it does, because she's talking about a period of time. Should she say I'm over 75 years old or I'm more than 75 years old?
From a purely grammatical standpoint, she should say, I'm almost 76.
Yeah, I guess that would be the only correct way to phrase it. I'm sure you've solved this woman's problem. It also enlightened some other listeners. I want to thank you for being with us today, Doctor.
Well, not at all. I was fumigated to come.
Delighted to hear that. And we'll look forward to you next time when we'll have another session of the Word Wizard, Dr. Elmer Stapley.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway.
Today, we're back at the theater in Ogunquit, where the final performance of Westchester Furioso is taking place. And as the chorus swings into the final finale number, Mary and Harry wait to take their bows. And we hear Calvin.
Hey, look, I found my wallet.
Hey, good, Calvin.
It was in the dressing room. It was under the vase that contained the flowers when we opened.
There all the time.
Yeah, not a dime is missing.
Well,
or
isn't that
dollar. I
good?
don't carry change on it.
You have all $11 of it.
Everything is there, my license, my credit cards, and my 1964-65 New York World's Fair Pass.
Wonderful. Mary, I'm going to be kind of missing our show since it's closing tonight.
Yes. It has been very successful here in Ogunquit, though.
Yes, it has, Greg. I think you should be very proud of yourself and your cast.
Well, we turned $1 here, which was very much needed. The old coffers were beginning to groan.
I know they were, but we're now on the black, right?
That's right. Looks like we're in for a very pleasant summer, fortunately.
Good, Greg.
Oh, that's good news to hear.
I've never seen the chorus perform any better than they're doing right now.
I enjoy this song, I really do. Yeah, I think it's one of my favorites.
Oh, it stays with you, too.
Well, I'm so happy to have found my wallet, I can't believe it. Yes, sir. To think that we went to the police headquarters and everything looking for the wallet.
Well, they've got a good police department here. Oh, okay.
They can hear us outside.
Yeah, carried away.
Wasn't she lovely in all her
That applause.
There it is.
Wow. Let's run out and take our bows.
Wait a minute, I'll go first.
All right, Mary. Go ahead. Right behind you.
Then where do I go now?
Right behind me.
All right, okay. Fine.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a very wonderful stay here at Ogunquit. We're glad you enjoyed the show so much.
Speaking for all the backstages and our friends Pop here and Calvin, we hope that we can return to Ogunquit sometime real soon. And speaking for myself, I'd like to say that I enjoyed finding my wallet here. Did you know I lost my wallet in Ogunquit?
Don't tell them about that, Calvin.
I found it out in the dressing room, ladies
Very
and gentlemen.
unprofessional.
And I'm so delighted I had $11 in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We hope to get back here soon.
Telegram.
For who?
For Mr. Backstage.
Oh, that's me. Here you are. Here's 25 cents. Telegram, eh?
25 cents.
Oh, boy. What is it? I hope it's not bad news.
Oh, it says, please return immediately for gala premiere of motion picture Treasure Island, Wednesday, July 10th.
Hey, that's right.
Hey!
So, I had forgotten all about that movie we made.
So had I, Calvin, but it's finally been put together by Mr. Plumfeather, and we'll be able to see it at the gigantic premiere on Wednesday.
In New York City.
In New York City.
All right, well, let's pack and get going. We don't have any time to waste.
Right. And so our friends conclude their Ogunquit engagement and find an invitation to attend the premiere of Treasure Island on Wednesday. You want to be with us tomorrow when they gather at the railroad station, preparing to leave Maine, and we hear Calvin say,
Uh-oh, my wallet's gone.
that's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking. And now, we would like to bid you a most cordial welcome to the award-seeking Bob and Ray Public Service feature, Views, Behind the People, Behind the News.
You probably remember this is that dull thing that we do every once in a while to make the authorities think that Bob and Ray broadcast in the public interest.
Well, we're still doing it. And on each occasion, we discuss a controversial issue of the day with some well-known expert in the field.
We want to have it understood, though, that the opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the Bob and Ray organization.
Also, they should not be construed as the opinions of this station or its advertisers or members of their families.
It must also be remembered that questions asked by our panel are not designed to reflect any particular viewpoint.
Then we should mention, too, that our panel members are speaking only for themselves, not as representatives of their employers or members of their family.
But in any event, this program is presented solely for the enjoyment of our listening audience, and any rebroadcast or reuse without specific permission is prohibited.
Likewise, any admission charged by owners of radio sets for listening to this broadcast is similarly prohibited.
The entire contents of this program remain the sole property of the Bob and Ray organization and may not be used for any commercial purpose by the New York Jets or the Commissioner of the National Football League.
That includes reproduction either in whole or in part.
Absolutely. However, it should be understood that portions of this program have been recorded earlier for broadcast in this time period.
This is done solely for the convenience of our listening audience, not for the purpose of editing or deleting controversial material.
In so doing, some passages that have been retained may be considered offensive by various ethnic groups or religious organizations.
Therefore, discretion is urged among members of such groups or organizations in listening to the material that follows.
Parental guidance is also suggested, and in no case shall children under the age of 16 be permitted to listen to this program.
Now, this ruling applies not only to the public at large, but also to employees of this station and members of their families.
Any application for exemption from this order must be received in our office before midnight tonight.
On all such applications, the decision of the judges is final, and in case of tie, duplicate prizes will be awarded.
However, the awarding of all prizes is subject to availability. Substitutions for announced prizes may be made at the discretion of the Bob and Ray organization.
And big penalties for premature withdrawals. But in any case, at least half of this program must be completed in order for it to qualify as an official broadcast.
If less than half is completed for any reason, then the entire program will be rebroadcast from the beginning at a later date, as determined by the commissioner.
Right, correct. Now, anything else we wanted to add?
No, I think that I covered it pretty well.
All right. Then let me take this opportunity to thank you all for tuning in today. Be sure to join us next time for another discussion of controversial issues on the Bob and Ray Public Service feature, Views, Behind the People, Behind the News.